thing.
Your hipster glasses?
We're live. Yes. No, I said my G7. We're live now, but first thing I talked about was my hipster glasses. Sounds great.
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to WordCast. This is number 21. We've got some really interesting stuff for you today, including, of course, the ransomware that has been going around everywhere. I'm sure you've all heard of it, as well as a bunch of big AMD news, some of it related to today, and lots of other random stuff. But the first thing I want to say is I'm Ethan. This is Daniel. His channel is linked in the description. Exynetek. I said it right this time.
Sure.
I hate you so much.
I don't even know how to pronounce. I literally just like type some random letters and.
Okay. Well, you guys should go subscribe to him because at some point in the eventual, maybe possible future, he's going to make some content. I cleaned my room, so that's cool.
I did just get a brand new monitor that would be perfect for making videos about. So we'll see.
Yes, it's also not bad for making videos. Your monitor setup now in general.
True.
So anyway, I also want to mention that in the link in the description, we have a Patreon link to WordTech's Patreon if you want to support me and Mirko, who isn't here in our channel. If you're looking to support us with a monthly contribution, the minimum is $1. That'd be super cool if you guys went and did that. That'd be super awesome.
I only want to give 50 cents.
Well, I guess you just suck that much.
Yeah.
And then also in the description, of course, is our Minecraft and Teamspeak servers so that you're welcome to play with us. And you can also follow us on social media. Twitter is the best place to follow me on social media. I'm WordTech. I am more active there than all my other forms of social media. So if you're interested and you have questions and you don't feel like posting them in the chat here, you're totally welcome to tweet them at me. I will be watching my Twitter as we go. So,
yeah,
let's start with some news about, some ransomware. So, Friday the 12th of May, so it is a little bit older news, but there is some newer.
It started the day after we did the last, or no, 2 days after we did the last WordCast.
Yeah. So it's 2 days after. Yeah. So we're a little late on the story because of the when we do our time. Seems like everybody did theirs right after this started happening, but we don't.
Yeah, I mean, I first found out about it on WAN Show.
Yeah. So oh well. So anyway, started on Friday the 12th. It encrypts every file on your computer and puts a document that is not encrypted in each folder, demanding $300 to $600 worth of Bitcoin, which of course is a little bit, smart on their part, I guess, because Bitcoin isn't traceable by any means, so they can't follow a paper trail, so to speak, or a money trail, like the FBI and stuff can't follow it. But it got bigger. So first off, there was a guy that actually stopped it temporarily.
Yeah, I'll go through that part real quick. So essentially how this played out, just for the timeline of it, Friday was when it started, and this is when it affected like roughly 75,000 computers in like 20 countries, I believe. It affected, the biggest thing that it affected was in the UK. It affected 16 divisions of their hospital services.
Right.
And this was like a significant impact. It wasn't just like a minor inconvenience. We're talking like at one point, some hospitals had to ask people to only come in if it was a legitimate emergency. Yeah.
It was really, really, really bad. They couldn't handle it. And I mean, a lot of machinery, like MRI machines. I can't talk tonight for some reason. MRI machines, CAT scans, things like that. They run on like Windows XP, Windows 95. So they were kind of screwed.
Yeah. And then from there, it was temporarily halted. Somebody initiated a kill switch. Essentially, what they did was they were able to get some of the code of the ransomware worm. And they noticed that there was a domain in there that essentially seemed to be a kill switch. Essentially, it looked like it was, so if the creator ever wanted to stop it, they could.
Yeah.
And all they had to do was register a domain. It was some nonsensical domain that nobody would ever accidentally register. And this guy found that. He spent like $10 registering the domain, and immediately it was stopped.
Yep, just boom.
Yep. Now it did come back. There were variations of it with, probably either just removing the kill switch or different variants of the kill switch. But it did come back, and so in total it hit hundreds of thousands of computers in over 150 countries. I don't think it's still completely stopped.
No, there were so many variations of it, and it still can attack anything that is like, not been updated. So actually, it took advantage of an exploit in SMB, which is I can't remember what it is. It's a server management something. Basically, what it is, it's a file sharing protocol essentially for Windows to use. Actually, you continue talking about it. I'll find out more.
Okay. So this was for consumers. It didn't really affect a whole lot, at least in Western countries. So like in the US, for example, anyone on Windows 10 shouldn't have the problem because Windows 10 forces you to update. And with Windows 10, it was patched in March. So that's why we really didn't see a significant impact here. But where we did see impact was in a lot of businesses. That's why like hospitals in the UK, factories in France were shut down. FedEx had a minor impact by it. Like there was a lot of companies impacted. China was hit pretty hard because on top of the businesses, there is a lot of essentially illegitimate copies of Windows, so they don't get updated. Right. And so they were hit pretty hard by it. It's been a massive deal. Now, this is such a big deal that Microsoft actually issued an emergency patch for Windows XP, which they haven't been supporting for quite a while now, in order to help deal with this. Because the thing is that, as you know, Ethan mentioned, there's a lot of devices like MRIs, like a lot of older machines that utilize older OSs, and when companies stop supporting them,
the companies will. There's no way to update them. The software,
without rebuying a new one.
Yeah, and they're not going to go spend $30,000 on a new freaking MRI machine just to get Windows 7, or whatever.
Yeah, so that's something that a lot of people are saying, Microsoft really needs to address, because when you're looking at using operating systems for infrastructure, them not willing to update it past a few years means Microsoft is essentially saying that, the infrastructure doesn't matter to them. And so that's when something like this can happen. Now, that's not saying that it is Microsoft's fault. The bigger fault here is the NSA, because this is actually a hack that was originally created by them, or like a vulnerability essentially kept by them. And somebody was able to steal it from the NSA. So it's actually, realistically, it's the fault of the NSA. If they had either, just not made it in the first place, or not made it, kept it, if they made it, tested it, told Microsoft, and then got rid of it like they should have, then this would be a non-issue.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's a little bit ridiculous. And what it was is Microsoft actually released a 0-day patch for this particular exploit involving SMB. And they even released a patch for XP. It was such a big... Okay. It was because it was such a big exploit. Mm-hmm. And so they released the patches for it, but like he was saying, a lot of people didn't update. Here, I'm trying to do a little bit more. So SMB stands for server message block. Basically, it's an internet file system. It operates as application layer network protocol, mainly used for providing shared access to files. So yeah, like I said, it's a network protocol. Mm-hmm. So it's a protocol, and it's for file sharing. So,
and for anyone that wants to see what this kind of actually looked like on your screen, or just to see more details about it in general, The Verge had an excellent thread of articles. Like, they essentially have one article that links to 8 of their articles about this. And the very first one they posted, titled UK Hospitals Hit with Massive Ransomware Attack, it actually shows an image, and I'm going to retweet it so that you can retweet it if you want to. But it's very serious. You can't really do much on the computer. Mm-hmm. So yeah, all in all, this was a very, very big deal.
Not good. Yeah, it's scary. Here, let me see if I don't follow you on my regular Twitter. Or sorry, on my WordTech Twitter. Okay. So you tweeted something. Did you tag me in it?
No, I just straight retweeted.
You're a freaking loser.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just tag me in it? Jeez.
Yeah. Another thing that I wanted to mention with this too. So the person that was able to find the kill switch and initiate it initially, he was actually given, and not by any of the companies that were, helped by him stopping it, but by just some, I think it's some hacker group or something. He was given $10,000 as a reward for stopping this, or for finding that kill switch. And he is donating all of the money to charity, and to, he said the other thing he might be doing is buying books on cybersecurity for people that can't afford them.
Okay.
So he got 10 grand from it, and he put the money to a great cause. And then he got screwed over by the press because the press essentially doxed him. He didn't want his name out there, his real name, because he works for a company that stops cyber criminals. And if cyber criminals have your name, they can go after you.
Yeah, which is not good. So
and so the press doxed him. So he's very legitimately pissed at that. He has great reason to be. That's absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, that's 100% like solid reason.
Yeah. So, but all in all, like, good on him. He did a great job stopping this, at least temporarily. And yeah, this is just insane. There's no matter. I guarantee next week we're gonna have more to talk about this. This is definitely still a developing story.
Yeah, it is. It has been developing for a while, and it's pretty crazy. I mean, you know, I don't think it's going to be stopped until most computers that haven't been patched are infected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
really that's what it is.
Not just with this hit, you know, if like it got on one computer on the network, it would spread throughout the network on its own.
Yeah, it spreads throughout the whole network because of the SMB issue. The SMB.
And so since this was mainly affecting work computers, so think like if one person at your office screwed up and clicked on the wrong link, and
all of a sudden
every single person in that office and the server gets infected by this.
Yep. It's a big deal. Mm-hmm. So yeah, pretty bad. I'm sure most people have heard about it, so we'll probably move on here pretty quick. But basically, fuck.
Yeah. Next up, I wanted to just do like a quick update on the net neutrality stuff since there hasn't really been a major development from the FCC. But we've seen a lot of data, and there's been a lot of evidence of like bots spamming for net neutrality. Well, we have specific numbers now. There was a place that went through and actually looked at all of the data.
Yeah, right.
And this is very interesting. So essentially what we have is when you remove the anti-net neutrality spam, the data dramatically, overwhelmingly supports net neutrality.
Which isn't surprising. It should be a surprise.
Oh, yeah. So the numbers are, when you remove the spam, it's 96.5% in favor, 2% opposed, and 1.5% other. Which, like, what is the other? Who like sees an issue as important as net neutrality and is just like, dear FCC, net neutrality is a thing. It does exist right now. Thank you. Goodbye.
Like they took the time to tell them. I don't know.
I like it or not.
They took the time to go in and just basically say, hey, I don't know.
Yeah.
Why I did this.
Now, for anyone that is like wondering, okay, well, how do we know for sure it was actually spam?
That's a lot of people. 1.5%. That's like thousands of people.
Mm-hmm. So for one, as far as us knowing it's actually spam, 38.8% of all comments, or a total of 440,049 as of the time of when this article was written, were the exact same comment. Like word for word, punctuation for punctuation, exactly the same.
It's so bad. Like you would think that they would at least change it up with a few different ones.
The next closest comment was 2.3%. The exact same text, and it was it was just exactly this. I support strong net neutrality backed by Title II oversight of ISPs. That one makes sense to have quite a few people. It's about 26,000 with exactly that.
Yeah,
because that's exactly what John Oliver told people to support.
Exactly. That's literally what he told them.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Oh my gosh.
And then
you would think too that whoever's executing the code and everything, whoever developed the code, so to speak, that's doing these bot spam, against net neutrality, you would think they wouldn't be going in alphabetical order of whatever database they have. I don't know if you heard about that.
We're going to explain that part before you started talking.
Shut up. We're having a conversation here, okay? And I just told you to shut up, but
essentially, like what they did with this in order to submit all of this was they literally went through like databases that were like hacked or leaked, and they got people's name and address and just had a bot sift through that and submit it. So like you could literally, like, there have been images that people screenshotted of literally just names in alphabetical order with the exact same text.
It's pretty great. It's sad.
The Verge even contacted some of the people on the list, and they directly said no, they did not comment. So this is confirmed spam.
Yeah.
Hopefully the FCC is smart enough to know that. Hopefully they choose to actually pay attention to the fact that it's spam. But yeah, this is absolutely insane. Comments, it was like number of cumulative findings in the thousands was not even like, probably not even 10,000. It was 39,000 filings as of the day before last week tonight airs, or like the night beforehand. And then it airs, it goes up a bit, and then the FCC is theoretically DDoSed. And
I love that.
and 4 days later, it's at 1.1 million filings.
Yeah.
From 39,000.
You know, with the whole being DDoS thing too, it's either an ISP actually DDoSed them, or they just couldn't handle the flux in traffic.
And I mean, like, there have been a lot of people saying they need to release their logs, and they haven't. So
yeah, they might have just lied.
We're never going to know.
Yeah, they may have just lied about it straight up to him and be like, it's so
If
dumb.
anything, I could very easily see it being whoever made the comment just assumed it was DDoSing, and it was actually them being overwhelmed or something like that.
Yeah, that's not impossible.
It's all just speculation at this point, but
yeah. I mean, if all of a sudden you see, 20 times the fucking information, or the 20 times the different IP addresses coming into your fucking site, you assume that you're getting DDoS. You assume that that's what's happening when you have an influx this big. So
yeah. But yeah, that's really it for that. We should have more updates next week, because right now, even if you comment, your comment actually doesn't count. There's essentially 1 week waiting period before they do any kind of motion or anything on this. And all the comments up until that point don't count. So
right, yeah.
We'll have to wait till next week to know more.
We have a question.
Yes.
Okay. Steve McLeod, who has the hottest mom? Be honest, boys. That's a hard one, isn't it?
You.
That was supposed to be a hard one, Daniel. It's like a tie.
Well, it is a hard one with your mom. Hey.
Live on air, and I knocked down my camera because you're saying things about my mom.
Yeah.
How great is that? How great is our live stream now? We're a 10 out of 10 now. I cannot get this camera to stay because my freaking monitor, the edge of it's like a bubble.
Oh.
It's terrible. I need to get my. Literally, I have to balance it. There, that's better.
That's a non-issue for me.
Thanks, Steve. You know what? You made me knock my camera down because you're curious who has the hot mom. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay, so OpenCL and Vulkan merging. You know more about this one than me, but I am really excited still.
Yeah. So here's what's happening. And this was really oddly announced. So in the middle of a press release, there is some details essentially indicating that Vulkan and API would be merging. So because of that, I think it was PCPer specifically that went and asked them directly. They reached out, and it turns out what's happening is OpenCL is merging into Vulkan. So essentially, they're taking the benefits of OpenCL and just putting it together with
Vulkan. They're taking
the API.
Right, they're taking a compute API and a graphics API and merging them, which is really smart.
Yes.
Also, Steve said one more thing really quick. He said, we do a great job on our channel, by the way. Thank you. He's not technically part of the channel, though. He has his own channel. You should subscribe to it.
I mean, to be fair.
I mean, you make more videos on my channel than you do on yours.
You post one video a week, and you're in WordCast. I'm in WordCast. Mirko's I'm in literally as many videos as Mirko a week.
This is true. I'm going to start doing more bonus videos too, because I got too much content to make. Anyway, thank you, Steve. I appreciate the compliment. So yeah, continue. Yeah, they reached out to them and they're merging the two APIs.
Yes. So this is going to allow Vulkan to be both a great gaming and compute API. But the other thing, and this is actually probably a bigger benefit than for most of us than just gaming and compute being the same API. Part of OpenCL is that there is something called SYCL, which is a specific form of programming. Specifically, it's C++ single source heterogeneous programming designed for OpenCL. Long story short, it's going to be very beneficial for game development or game engine development specifically. And Vulkan's potentially coming to the web. There might be like a web API. And this would also be very beneficial to that.
Right.
So this could be what gives Vulkan a big advantage over DirectX, because this is something
it needs
that
some kind of big advantage.
this is something that Microsoft can't really integrate into the current version of DirectX.
They would have to, well, they can't. They don't have the rights to. They would, if in order to do it, they would.
Well,
have
it's not even that. They would have to like redo DirectX.
Yeah, and they would even then they in order to do it properly, they probably have to develop their own compute API as well separately, a new one. That's what I mean.
Yeah. So this is going to be interesting. All in all, it should just put Vulkan in an even better stance, which is great because it means DirectX is going to have to step up their game too.
Yes, and that's what we need to have happen. We really need to just get more developers on board. That's my big thing. That's what we need to, the focus needs to be on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's pretty cool. I'm excited.
To be beneficial for game engine development could be what does it.
Right. Yeah, that's true. APIs excite me.
Mm-hmm.
They overly excite me. It's weird.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, you know me though. Hard drives excite me too. So I get excited by the weird things.
Yeah, I mean, you are kind of obsessed with hard drives.
I am way too obsessed with hard drives. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Anyway, so whole bunch of AMD news and a little bit of rumors that were kind of half confirmed. So AMD announced Vega Frontier Edition. That's a new GPU under the Vega architecture from AMD. It looks to be pretty impressive. It's a pro-grade GPU. They have a regular version and a water-cooled version of it, both called the Frontier Edition. And they're designed to be compute cards. So they're not really designed for gaming. I'm sure we'll see somebody do some kind of gaming benchmarks on them. But of course, without optimized drivers and all kinds of other stuff, we're going to see probably better gaming performance when it actually is released to consumers, and it'll be at a lower price.
No, it'll be worse.
What?
It'll be worse.
You
optimize for the game and it'll get worse.
Yeah, and you optimize and it just craps out. So anyway, what was I gonna say? Yes. So basically, new Vega GPU is amazing, and a lot of the rumors have been confirmed about it. So it has 16 gigabytes of HBM2 memory, which is what we thought in comparison to the Tesla V100 from NVIDIA that is the same. So pretty cool to see that AMD actually now has a card with 16 gigabytes of HBM2. Not sure if that'll come to consumers. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just 8 gigabytes to come to consumers instead of the 16 gigabytes. But, so 12.5 teraflops-ish, closer to 13, I believe, is what I'm actually reading now. Teraflops of single precision performance versus the 12 teraflops on the Titan XP 1.5. That is the second version of the Titan XP. So technically, on paper, according to floating point operations per second in specific, it is about a teraflop faster.
Yeah,
now, of course, this does not.
The other thing I wanted to mention too is this isn't designed to compete with the Titan XP. It's designed to compete with the V100 very likely, which is why it has 16 gigs of HBM2.
Right. Exactly.
So, but yeah, what you were going to say, go ahead.
Yeah. So, so basically, it doesn't, translate direct to like game performance and stuff like that. So don't go assuming, because this has happened several times before where people go, it's going to beat everything NVIDIA has. And it doesn't. Yeah. It depends on optimization. It depends on the way the architectures work. Vega is a completely new architecture. So maybe it will stomp on NVIDIA. Maybe it'll be equal. Maybe it'll be lower. We don't really know until we actually see straight performance. But it has 4096 stream processors compared to the 2304 on the RX 580. That again is of course of a gaming card compared to a pro card. We don't know for sure if we'll have 4096 on the top end Vega from AMD, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the number we see, because AMD usually they seem to stick between pros and regulars. Consumer-based GPUs, the same amount of cores. They don't tend to disable any. Now, of course, go ahead.
I would like to see a Vega card specifically designed to compete with the Titan.
Yeah, that would be cool. We'll see what happens. I'd just like to see them be able to beat NVIDIA in the gaming performance realm, beating their gaming GPUs. So not their GeForce or not their GTX stuff, because the Titan's technically that, but 1080 Ti. I would like to see them beat the 1080 Ti for like $50 to $100 less than the 1080 Ti. Even if it's at the cost of some more power consumption and more heat. But we'll see what happens. I'm not really sure if that's realistic. So anyway, though, it has almost 2,000 more stream processors than the RX 580. So that right there already shows it's going to have a good performance boost. Depends on clock speeds, of course, but you know, that's still a pretty substantial increase in core count. And it's a newer architecture, so it should actually perform better per each stream processor. So you know that I'm excited for this. I really hope Vega gives NVIDIA a run for their money, even if though they need to give them a run for their money price-wise. That's what I think needs to happen, because I don't really have confidence, even though I really want it, I don't have confidence that Vega is going to go ahead and slaughter NVIDIA in the performance race, because NVIDIA has just had so much money for R&D lately. They've been able to do whatever they want. What I think is much more likely to actually happen, despite my hopes, is for them to release a card that's like 1080, maybe like in between 1080 and 1080 Ti level performance, but is only like $450.
The thing is, though, if they do that, then they're already setting themselves up for NVIDIA to, at the very least, be in that exact same situation with their next generation cards.
This is true.
Because it's very common for, the X70 to perform as well as the previous generation's X80 from NVIDIA.
Right.
So
yeah, exactly.
That's where they do run into the thing of if they're able to hit 1080, let's say halfway between 1080 and 1080 Ti numbers for the price of the 1070, then NVIDIA could very well just be like, cool story, bro. We do the same thing. Here you go.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much. While that's true, though, analysts are predicting that Volta is going to be pretty far. It's pretty far off of being in the consumer space. So AMD could very well release a successor to Vega at the same time.
Yeah.
So it depends, because we know Volta, they really pushed hard to get that out. Also, I want to address a comment. So we have a comment from Mike Union. Opinions of the new LT5 that is rumored to be in the CZ-ZR1. I want to let you know this is a tech channel, and so we don't really talk about cars too much. And I'm assuming you're referring to the engine in the new Corvette.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I will go ahead and give an opinion on it, but again, this is not really a car channel, so I'm going to be quick about it. It's cool, I guess. I mean, it looks to be a good engine, so I can't really say much more than that. For now, it is. As far as I know, it's just rumors, correct? I don't believe they've actually confirmed anything. Anyway, point is, I mean, yeah, it's cool. It's cool. I do like to see, new engines and whatnot. And Corvette's awesome. But anyway, back to tech news. So yeah, that's pretty much it actually about the Vega Frontier Edition card. It's cool to see Vega actually available, though. Like, it's actually a thing now. It's confirmed. It's real. And we actually have some numbers on it. So it's super awesome. Now we have some new stuff. So another AMD news actually here, CPU-wise related to Ryzen. The new Threadripper CPU cores have been announced, the CPUs.
That sounds dirty.
It sounds so dirty. Threadripper. So Threadripper is the high-end desktop, the HEDT coming from AMD. It's basically going to be what their highest-end possible consumer-rated stuff is. It's going to most likely be based, on what they're running in servers with Naples, which you already know goes up to 32 cores, 64 threads. So this makes sense. 16 cores, 32 threads, high-end desktop. That has been completely confirmed, releasing summer 2017. That is confirmed by AMD. The rest of what I'm about to go over are completely rumors. We have no idea if this is actually true or not. What we know is that they have a 16-core 32-thread, and it's real. Okay, so rumor time. So CPU naming scheme-wise, actually, I don't think this is going to be it because it's kind of dumb, but we'll see.
It's very dumb.
Yeah, okay, so Ryzen 9 CPUs. Again, it's going to be Ryzen 9 instead of Ryzen 7. 1998X will be a 16-core, 32-thread part at 3.5 gigahertz base, 3.9 gigahertz boost speed with 155 watt TDP. All of these are rumored to support quad-channel DDR4 and 44 PCI Express lanes, so keep that in mind as well. That's a lot of PCI Express lanes.
Not enough.
Right, never enough. So
I need at least 100.
Yes. Then there's going to be the Ryzen 9 1998. 16-core, 32-thread, 3.2 gigahertz base, 3.6 gigahertz boost. Then there's going to be the 1977X, 14 cores, 28 threads, 3.5 gigahertz base, 4.0 gigahertz boost. These are all those ones are all 155 watt TDP, but the TDPs are going to start going down now. So the 1977 is a 14 core Ryzen 9 1977, 14 core, 28 thread part with 3.2 gigahertz base, 3.7 gigahertz boost, 140 watt TDP. So that is 15 watts lower. Then there's going to be the 1976X, 14 cores, 28 threads, 3.6 gigahertz base, 4.1 gigahertz boost, and 140 watt TDP again. Now that there's going to be the Ryzen 9 1956X, which will be 12 cores, 24 threads, 3.2 gigahertz base, 3.8 gigahertz boost, 125 watt TDP. The Ryzen 9 1956 is a 12 core, 24 thread, 3.0 gigahertz, 3.7 gigahertz boost, 125 watt TDP. The Ryzen 9 1955X is a 10 core, 20 thread, 3.6 gigahertz, 4.0 gigahertz boost, 125 watt part. And the Ryzen 9 1955 is a 10 core, 20 thread, 3.1 gigahertz, 3.7 gigahertz boost, 125 watt part. Now, of course, the names already sound dumb and are too long, but also I don't think that there is going to be anywhere near this amount of SKUs. The skewing here is kind of dumb if this is real.
If anything, I feel like this would be a very much long-term SKU list. Like we see like the 16 core and like the 10 core to start. And then eventually you see the 1977X, and then eventually the 1977, and then eventually the 1976X, and so on. But even then, I just think it's too many. If anything, it should just be give us the 10 core, give us the 14 core and the 16 core, something like that. Not 3 14 cores and 2 12, 2 10, and 2 16.
Yeah, right, exactly. I think it's weird. Yeah, I can agree with you. There would not be 3 14 cores. That doesn't make sense, especially the 1976X being better than the 1977X, but a lower TDP, but higher clock speeds. How do you get higher clock speeds, same amount of cores, lower TDP? How is that logical at all?
And then if you had that, you wouldn't lower it, and you wouldn't have it as a lower number part.
Yeah, exactly. So actually we had another question that I wanted to address really quick. Mike asked one more car question. So, I'm going to answer it very quick. Am I a push rod or a double overhead cam kind of guy? I am a double overhead cam kind of guy, but I'm not going to talk about why, because that's not what the show's about, but I answered your question. And yes, Heelys are a rough ride. Yep. Okay. So anyway, back to tech. Okay. So yeah, I really don't think though that these are going to be I don't think these are realistic. The names don't sound good. They sound way too much like years. 1998, like that wasn't long enough ago.
I mean, I can only buy the 1995.
Right. Yeah.
Anything after that, I don't care. And there's no 1995, so I can't buy these.
You can't buy these. Yeah, it's literally impossible. So I'm excited for these, but I don't really believe the rumors about all this. I do believe the 44 PCI Express lanes and the quad channel DDR4. I really would like to build a system with the Ryzen 9 CPUs, 16. But I'm not gonna, because I have money to spend on other projects, and I already have a nice computer. But boy, do I want a 16-core desktop.
Yeah. Question. So I didn't fully read all the details of this, but does this mean we're expecting a new chipset?
Yeah. Okay. So
because quad channel memory is not supported on any of the current chipsets.
Right. So we should see a new chipset. We're definitely seeing a new socket. The socket will probably be the same socket that they use on the Naples server stuff. Because AMD, that's a good prediction, because AMD has been very good about focusing on keeping sockets as simple as possible. And like Intel's like, let's make a lot so we can charge more for things. So AMD's been really good about that. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, I went to the WCCF tech source, and that's the other thing to keep in mind. This is WCCF tech. They do get these rumors right, but they do get a lot of stuff wrong too.
Yes, so they do. But they always slap the rumor tag, which is nice. So
just take it with a grain of salt. It's saying socket SP3R2.
Yes, which I'm assuming they might call it something else.
Yeah, I was gonna say that right there, along with the stupid naming for the CPUs. I'm wondering if some of this is just the internal naming.
It could be, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if this was the internal naming, which then it makes sense. Then it actually makes sense. But yeah, what I'll say though is, so with what were we talking about? What you just said something that made me think of something I wanted to say.
Talking about the chipsets.
Oh, we're talking about chipsets. Yeah. So with the chipsets, so we're definitely seeing a new socket first off, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have a server and high-end desktop socket, and then the AM4 socket is going to be the regular consumer-based socket, and that's it. Wouldn't surprise me. And then they'll have some soldered chips, I'm sure for laptops at some point, because Ryzen has proven to be incredibly successful. So. Anyway, chipset wise, it looks like we should be getting a new chipset because of the quad channel DDR4, but who knows, maybe we're going to get some boards that will have like the X370 chipset just with the socket for the bigger cores and won't support quad channel memory. Who knows what they're actually going to do. Again, that wouldn't make sense. I'm pointing out that we don't really know for sure what all the details are about that. We just know this thing exists. I have a feeling at Computex we're going to learn more.
Yeah, so reading through the WCCF Tech article, if this is all true, we might be seeing an X390 chipset.
Yeah, okay, that would make sense. That would make sense. Yeah,
a slight bump up from the X370, essentially.
Yeah, well, the rumor is it's going to have more like USB support, stuff like that. But PCI Express lanes is nice because this means we'll be able to do more than 2 GPUs, or we'll be able to do like 2 GPUs and a bunch of SSDs. And of course, we know AMD is still trying really hard to promote the idea of more than 2 GPUs, which does please enthusiasts. And so if Vega proves to be really good and supports quad GPUs, all of a sudden we have 16 core, 32 thread, almost 4 gigahertz chips with quad Vega GPUs. All of a sudden, Intel has just lost the high-end desktop market.
Yeah. Well, and if you compare this to the rumored Skylake X lineup, what's interesting, so Skylake X, we're looking at 44 PCI lanes only on the top 2.
I hate how they disable PCI lanes.
Yeah. And then 28 on the next 2. So essentially, we're looking at, for Skylake X is apparently, we've heard rumors of this happening years ago too, but going to be a Core i9.
Right.
And so we're looking at potentially 4 CPUs, 2 of which will get 44 PCI lanes, 2 of which will get 28.
And the highest core count would be 12 cores.
12 cores, 24 threads.
Yeah, which is like, all right, AMD's already got a B, even if they have a clock speed advantage.
And if these rumors are true, we're looking at the Skylake X supporting DDR4 2666, whereas Ryzen 9 is supposed to support DDR4 3200.
Which makes sense because Ryzen needs to support faster RAM. So it makes sense that would happen, but still. Yeah, the only advantage Intel has over Ryzen at this point, realistically, in the desktop space and probably in the server space, well, except actually Intel does have higher core. No, Intel doesn't have a 32 core yet. So yeah, basically what AMD has been able to do is better efficiency than Intel and better core counts for a lower price. The one thing that Intel still has them beat in barely is instructions per clock and the ability, how refined their 14 nanometer is so that they're able to push to higher clock speeds. You are not looking at overclocking Ryzen 9 to like 4.2 gigahertz or 4.4 gigahertz or whatever. That's not going to happen. Whereas with Kaby Lake, you can commonly hit like 4.95 gigahertz. So there is,
and that's the other.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, that's the other confusing thing with the Intel lineup. So Skylake X, or Skylake, their previous architecture, is going to be the high-end chips. And Kaby Lake, their new architecture, is going to be the low-end X chips. We're looking at essentially 2 Kaby Lake X's. For some reason, we're looking at a Kaby Lake X i5 and a Kaby Lake X i7, and then 4 Skylake X i9s.
Yeah, it's dumb.
This entire
Intel doesn't know what they're
sense.
doing. If this is all true, Intel doesn't know what they're doing this time around. They're just kind of like, we'll throw shit into the market and charge a high price for it.
It indicates that they're desperate to compete.
Yes, it indicates that they don't know what to do because all of a sudden AMD went, yeah, we're not dipshits this time. Yeah. So, yeah, and I'm hoping they do the same thing with Vega. But, yeah, it's definitely going to be a tough fight. But basically, if the only reason to go with Intel right now,
laptops?
Well, of course laptops, but I'm talking about desktop space. The only real reason that Intel should have any consideration is if you are just gaming, there is an advantage to Intel. slightly, assuming you have a GPU powerful enough to take advantage of it, and you have a monitor powerful enough to take advantage of it. So I'll explain. So right now you have like very faintly better instructions per clock, meaning at the same clock speeds, Kaby Lake will outperform Ryzen at the exact same clock speed, exact same core count, exact same cache level, all that stuff by a little bit. It'd probably be in the realm of like 4 or 5%, not enough to really matter, especially when you consider the price. But they are able to clock them higher because their process is more refined, which is normal for when it's actually impressive that AMD has been able to hit even 4 or 4.1 gigahertz on Ryzen, considering, or TSMC, I should say, has been able to hit this, considering it's a brand global. Did I say TSMC? I meant Global Foundries. Global Foundries. It's surprising that they've been able to hit these high clock speeds on such a good die shrink, and so when you have Intel's had lots of time to spend with their 14 nanometer die, whereas Global Foundries hasn't. So that is essentially means Global Foundries does know what they're doing. Of course, it's normal when you do a die shrink, it's normal to not be able to hit as high clock speeds unless it's really refined. That is why Intel has a clock speed advantage. Point I'm getting at, though, is a lot of games still can't use more than 4 threads. Very rare can use more than 4 threads, and it's still pretty common to use 1, maybe 2, unfortunately. And this will get better with the newer APIs, especially with OpenCL and Vulkan merging like we talked about earlier. But this gives Intel a little bit of an advantage when you're all of a sudden have a game that's single core and you've got 5.1 gigahertz with slightly better IPC from Intel. You're going to get better performance in those games. But it's very rare that Ryzen can't push a game well over 100 frames per second on max settings. So that's something that has to be considered into account too, is are you at the point of diminishing return? If you are using 60 hertz panels or 120, 144 hertz panels, Ryzen actually is totally fine. Because chances are most games you're playing are going to be able to get up to close to where the maximum refresh rate of your panel is, assuming again you have a GPU powerful enough to actually push all those frames. The only time that AMD or that Intel really would matter, in my opinion, is when you have something like a 200 hertz panel or 240 hertz panel, where you need single core performance as best as you absolutely possibly can. Then you're going to indeed see a little bit of a boost if you have, again, the GPU power to drive it from the Intel side. So really realistically, what I want to say to anybody that's watching, anybody that's maybe considering a Ryzen build or a new PC build, go with Ryzen unless you exclusively game with a high-end GPU on a 200 hertz plus panel. And
on top of that, go with if you're even if you don't now, if you're considering doing something like streaming or recording in the future. Right.
That's why I said just gaming. Yeah.
If you're just gaming now, but even if you're considering it, you're going to go better off.
You're going to be better off with like an 8-core or 6-core instead of a quad-core with higher clock speeds. So realistically, Ryzen is the best for most situations, and this is dominating Intel in the desktop market. I hope it comes to mobile. I know that it's going to come to mobile in the socketed format, like my Sager laptop here for. Keep fucking coughing. My Sager laptop that I have here, for example, guys, is running a desktop 6700K at desktop full clock speeds. That actually has a higher TDP than the 8-core Ryzen part, the 1700, the Ryzen 7 1700. Meaning an 8-core, 16-thread, high up in the 3 gigahertz range would work in a laptop. They could throw it in this laptop. The TDP is lower. They could literally throw it in this exact laptop with a new motherboard, and it would work. So that's where I think we're going to see Ryzen first in laptops, but then I think we're going to see it trickle down into the soldered-on format for Ultrabooks and stuff. Considering its efficiency compared to Intel being slightly better, we should theoretically be able to have AMD Ultrabooks and stuff that actually have better battery life than Intel.
Yeah, that would
be
better
performance with AMD. The same battery life. Yeah, exactly.
Because
that'd be a big deal.
That's where the money's at right now in consumer processors.
And battery life is like the number 1 thing on the Ultrabook mark. That's like people first thing to look at is, oh, it only has 6 hours of battery life. Well, this one has 12. I'm gonna go with that one.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just if you're essentially just running a web browser, that's what you want is battery life. So that's where this all kind of comes into play, and that's why Intel. That's why even with how good AMD is doing, they've only made a couple % market share increase. If we were talking just desktops, it would be a lot more significant.
Yeah, it's probably like freaking 10% desktops.
Yeah, laptops are a very, very significant portion of the market.
Yeah, they are. And so I hope AMD is thinking about that and has been thinking about that ahead of time. I'm sure they have, but I really hope that they have. So definitely though, I'm excited to see Ryzen in the mobile space. Again, if you can get even like an hour more battery life, or you can somehow stuff a freaking, quad core hyper threaded into an ultrabook.
Yeah,
that's a big deal. Because right now, ultrabooks, there aren't any technically that are technically ultrabooks with quad cores, I believe. Or there might be a few.
There's some.
Yeah, but they're pretty rare. So if you could get a quad core hyper threaded, or a 6-core and a thin and light, that wouldn't be an ultrabook, but a 6-core and a thin and light, those are both big deals. Even if you're only running at freaking 2.5 base and like 3.2 gigahertz boost, that's fine.
Yeah, and then I mean for like the business side where all they do is Word docs and occasional emails, we could be seeing like what if they release a dual core with a lower clock speed at like 1.5 or something.
Well, it's rumored they're going to do that on the desktop anyway. So yeah, because the Ryzen 3 is supposed to be a thing with base quad cores and then probably some dual cores too. I would love to see like $50 dual core hyper threaded chips. Great for basic like business stuff. Great for the really, really budget oriented gamer, especially if they can push higher clock speeds out of it. Though I kind of doubt that. So definitely. I keep losing my train of thought because I'm tired. So Ryzen 3, when that comes out, is I think at the same time when we're going to start seeing mobile launches of it as well. I think they're going to happen at the same time. But I mean, I would love, in fact, what's something I would actually like that would be really weird, but I would actually like it. Again, it's not going to happen, I'm sure, but I'd love it. Like $25, $30 single core hyper threaded Ryzen CPU. Specifically for doing not necessarily like Raspberry Pi related things, but like really low power consumption, really low processing machines to do things for the cheap. And if they have a really, really, really cheap chipset for it, you've got, a system that can actually function for like $200. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
An x86 based system, so you could run Windows, or you could run full versions of Linux that are running on the x86 instruction set.
Yeah,
it'd be cool. It's not going to happen, but
I have to find the article and read more up on it. Though this was actually something I was going to talk to you about. There is something saying that or indicating that with very minimal overhead, we could potentially see x86 running on ARM.
Yes, I did hear about that.
Before the Nintendo Switch would have surprised me, but the Nintendo Switch is pretty closely doing that because apparently games are extremely easy to port to the Switch, and games on the PS4 and Xbox One are x86 games.
Yeah, which makes sense. So I'm excited. I hope that becomes a thing because ARM would take over.
Realistically, ARM is the future of consumer computing.
Yeah, definitely of consumer computing. I completely agree with that. ARM is awesome. Give me your ARM.
I'm going to go into Google I/O because there's a lot.
I'm excited for this. I want to listen to you because I haven't followed Google I/O because for whatever reason, none of the podcasts I listened to talked about it.
Well, it also just was happening today.
Yes, this is true.
So I'm going to start with Android because that's kind of the biggest thing. So they talked about Android O, which is nice. So essentially the focus of Android O, whatever they decide to end up calling it, is fluid experiences and vitals are what they're calling it. So for fluid experiences, what they mean is picture-in-picture is getting greatly enhanced. So for example, if you're on a duo call or if you're watching YouTube, when you press the home button, it'll like minimize the video similar to YouTube's miniature video.
Right, yeah, okay.
But it does it over the OS.
That's
awesome.
It's
a much simpler way to do multi-window. Chrome's autofill is also coming to most apps, so you can do things like pull your passwords in automatically. We did kind of already know about that, but it's just nice. Intelligent text selection is also coming, so like when you double tap, it'll select an entire address or the entirety of the name of a business, things like that.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
It'll also give
convenient.
Yeah, it'll also give suggestions. So like say you tap on the name of a business, it'll give you a suggestion to open it in Maps or potentially like save it to your contacts if it's an address, things like that. Just all around just nice.
TensorFlow, interesting. The Tensor's CPUs, TPUs, tensor processing units, are actually used in the new V100 from NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. I knew Google was a part of it. Anyway, continue.
And then Vitals, I'm going to just go to that one next. Vitals is pretty big. So there's some security enhancements. There's OS optimizations. There's tools for developers to do things like minimizing power consumption. As far as security enhancements go, and this was actually something I had originally decided to use as a topic before I/O, but it's essentially the same thing. One of the big things is how they're handling two-factor authentication via SMS. This is a very welcome small upgrade, but it is very welcome. So right now, the way two-factor authentication through SMS works is you have two options. Option one, you get an SMS, it gives you the code, you type the code into the app manually, and then you have to hit use submit. It takes an extra, 10, 20 seconds. It's really not that big of a deal, but it's a minor inconvenience. And that alone is going to mean some people won't use it, unfortunately.
Right.
So what
we have a comment, by the way, really quick, related to what you were talking about. Mike again says, picture-in-picture is a godsend for porn in public.
Yes, it is.
That is not a lie.
So the other way that two-factor authentication SMS works is that you can give the app permission to view your SMS so that it can essentially read the SMS itself, copy the code, and put it in itself. For example, when setting up my Pixel, Google does that automatically. So I have the option to essentially, when I was setting it up, I had to use two-factor authentication, and I had SMS set up. So I just typed in my phone number when I was setting it up, and it just did it all for me. Now, the OS already has the ability to read my SMS, so that's not a big deal. But if you're doing it in an app, you have to give that app full SMS permissions because there's no other way to do it. You can't read an SMS and not read other SMS.
Yeah, right, exactly.
How an operating system works. So what they're going to be doing for this two-factor authentication is instead of it sending you a standard text and the app reading it, what happens is the app will indicate to Android that you are expecting to receive a specific type of two-factor auth SMS. Android will then itself, not the app, look for the Google-style authentication code coming into the message. It will take that code, put it into the app or feed it to the app, and then the app will complete its process, and then the text message will come through. So the text message won't even finish coming through until the app is done with that process for extra security.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
All in all, for what it means for end users is just two-factor authentication is going to be easy on any apps that support it, and you don't have to put a security risk or a privacy risk up in order to have that ease of use.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then TensorFlow Lite is another part of all of this. So it's essentially a neural network API coming later this year to help Android access hardware to accelerate for training for like neural nets and stuff. There's no specifics on how this is going to be used, but I'm expecting it to be for things like Google Assistant to have some offline functionality that would allow, again, because we see with the two-factor authentication that Google is trying to give users extra privacy, which has been one of the biggest complaints about Google and Android.
Yeah, privacy has
been so if they can give you some of that
in the bag.
Yeah, if they can give you some of that machine learning for a lot of stuff on phone, and they can do it very efficiently without needing to connect to Google, then this could be a very big benefit there for privacy.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then some other stuff for Android. I'll try and skim through some of this stuff. Google Play Protect, they're adding a built-in malware scanner to the Play Store. Google apps should open twice as fast due to runtime changes at the operating system level. More talk about optimizing for battery. Android now has a brand new officially supported language. It's called Kotlin. I've never heard of it before, but it's a new officially supported language. So if you don't want to use Java, you can use that, which is not even remotely surprising since Java or Oracle keeps trying to sue Google over the use of an open source programming language, which doesn't even make sense. It's open, whatever. For people that do want to try Android O, the first beta is available today. I'm going to actually be installing it on my Pixel later today. once we're done with this. Pretty much, I just have to charge it and make sure that I don't need it for the rest of the night. So yeah, beta if you want to try it. They also announced Android Go, which essentially means for certain Android O devices that have 1 GB or less of memory, there will be lighter versions of a lot of Google apps that will, take up less memory, less storage, less CPU usage. It's essentially a software version of the Android One program. So this is going to be especially important in markets like Indonesia, Brazil, India, China, anywhere that they can't afford high-end phones.
Right.
Along with this, there's YouTube Go, which is just a lighter form of the app. You can see how much mobile data will be used for each video. Again, very important for places that do not have unlimited data, things like that. Another really cool feature, though, is, and I'm really surprised by this, it includes built-in peer-to-peer sharing. This is for saving or sharing YouTube videos locally without using any data that you have saved offline. So if you offline a YouTube video and you're out in the middle of nowhere, or you just don't want to use data, and
other people can see it,
you can give them that video, send it to their phone. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. That's actually that could be. There's a lot of uses for that if developers grab a hold of it.
Yeah. And then there is some updates for Gboard, which is Google's keyboard. This feature sounds awesome. So essentially, they're taking Google Translate and building it into Gboard. So you can type something out in English, and from the keyboard, without ever having to leave your app that you're in, so text messaging, Hangouts, whatever, you can translate it to whatever language you need to.
Yeah, right.
So, and then,
super cool.
Yeah, and then going forward after Android O, every version of Android will have a Go configuration. So the only real thing that you need in order to qualify is the device has 1 GB of RAM or less. That's it. Some other big stuff from I/O as far as VR goes. The S8 and S8 Plus are getting Daydream support later this summer, which is really nice because Samsung before now has been very closed off. You have to use their Gear VR. So it's really nice to see Daydream getting some support. This is the big thing for VR, though, in my opinion.
I'm excited for this one.
Yes. Google is working with hardware companies. Specifically, we know of HTC and Lenovo will be releasing standalone VR headsets. Now, this isn't like VR headset with your phone, VR headset with your computer, or anything else. This is literally all of the hardware, the battery, everything else just in the headset. So you would literally just be able to throw a headset in your bag. You don't have to worry about eating up your phone's battery life if you wanted to use it. It's just a VR headset.
It's pretty cool. I hope it functions good. I mean, considering, how much space they have to work with, if they did it right, they could fit a pretty good sized battery, a Snapdragon 835 or whatever, and they're good to go.
Yeah, and because they're designing this from the ground up rather than having to design it to stick different sized phones and stuff in, they can make it much sleeker, much lighter, much more comfortable.
Yes.
They have a lot more.
I do wonder if in order to, this would help keep costs down and make things simpler. I kind of hope that you can connect it to your phone to install the actual VR apps to it from the Play Store, because I would hate to have to wear the VR headset to actually select the things I want to install on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I imagine there'll be something like that.
So I would hope so. I would hope there's something. Yeah. I mean, we all know Android does support remote installs. You can go to the Play Store on your PC and tell it to install on your phone. So something along those lines, just integrating it with your smartphone so that general consumers could do it would be pretty cool.
Yeah. That would be. And so they also, part of this project, they partnered not just with HTC and Lenovo, but they partnered with Qualcomm as far as our hardware. So that means we're probably going to see 825s, 835s. And if this is successful, just like when Android Wear was doing somewhat well, we could see VR optimized hardware, specifically coming out of Qualcomm, like a 835 variant for VR devices, because there's going to be some functionality.
835 VR.
Yeah, you don't need all of the radios that you would have in a smartphone chip, for example.
That's true. Yeah.
And so that's going to both bring down cost, bring down battery life usage.
Realistically, too, they might just make a dedicated VR chip, not based on the 835 or something, because realistically, you don't.
Well, it'll be based off of that architecture.
Well, yeah, but you don't need 4 little cores.
Yeah,
you're not going to be sitting there in VR going, "Oh, low power consumption while I text message from VR."
Yeah.
So I would assume it would just be like a quad core, high performance, like 2.6, 2.7 gigahertz chip with the Adreno, was it 430 GPU, I think is what we're on?
Something like that.
Yeah. So pretty cool.
And then there's some augmented reality stuff. So they announced second generation Tango phones are coming this year. They'll be much smaller, much sleeker devices. There's a new Zenfone AR coming this summer. So that'll be nice. And then there's some other stuff I'm not even going to bother about just because of how much stuff was announced to Google I/O.
The Zenfone's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like what Asus is doing there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Some changes. So Google Home is getting some updates. So there's proactive assistance from Google Home. Essentially what will happen is if there's useful information available for you, the Google Home will light up and you can, so like if you've noticed how like sometimes if you have like Google Assistant or Google Now on your phone, you'll get notifications about traffic, weather, or whatever. Essentially what will happen is those same notifications work on Google Home because Google Home is just running off of Google Assistant. But there's no current way to feed that to you. So what they're going to do is it'll light up and you can say, hey, Google, what's up? And then it'll tell you that. So if you know, in the morning you're starting to get ready and there's a traffic accident and you're going to have to leave earlier, it'll light up. It'll tell you that. You say, hey, Google, what's up? It'll tell you. And then it's just like, oh, okay, you got to leave a little bit earlier to get to an appointment and get to work, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool idea. I like this implementation. I would like to see Google catch up to Amazon and stuff when it comes to the functionality of their
it has some that's better, it has some that's worse, but I mean it's definitely getting there because it's
right. Of course I don't want it to at the same time because I'm about to buy 3 Echoes, but
yeah. Well, to be fair though, 3 Echo Dots is still the price of a Google Home.
This is true, and not only that, but the Echo Dots can control Hue, which Google Home can't yet.
Yes,
correct?
it can. Yes,
it can now? Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Plus both of them wouldn't need native support because I have TTT.
Yeah, this is true. Although there are some things that Echo supports that Home doesn't, like the Wemo smart locks and stuff. But anyway, continue.
As far as some other stuff that's coming, so this is pretty cool, and this is also something that Alexa has similar functionality for. Hands-free calling for Google Home.
Don't say the A word on live. Remember,
Alexa.
Oh, you're a dick. I am sorry for everybody.
Hey Google.
I am sorry for everybody that has.
Fuck Siri.
You know, every live streamer like actually tries to be nice about it. They're like, oh my bad, I just activated everybody's voice assistant.
That's
You're just like, I'm just gonna activate it again.
Everyone's done it once. I haven't done it before.
Okay, this is true. Okay.
I've got to do it once.
We're gonna be more careful. I apologize to anybody.
More careful.
Especially people that watch this after the stream or afterwards, because we have like 50 people that tend to watch this after. I am sorry for any of you that have Echoes or Google Homes.
I'm not.
It's his fault. You can go unsub from his channel. Just don't unsub from mine.
But I post on this channel more than mine.
Okay.
So what I was talking about before. So yeah, hands-free calling. So essentially what this is, Google has your contacts in your phone tied to your account. So essentially you can do things like, hey Google, call mom, and it'll call your mom. But what's also nice is it responds intelligently. So, and this should be tying into the multiple account system that they started integrating recently. If you say, hey Google, call mom, or your wife says, hey Google, call mom, it'll call the correct mom.
It'd be really funny if it didn't.
If it purposefully switched it.
Hey Google, call mom. I'm sorry, everybody. I just said that, but yeah.
Be really careful.
Everybody's calling their moms now. No, so you say it. You say the word, and then the other word, and then you say call mom, and then it calls your wife's mom instead of your mom. Be a little awkward conversation.
Yeah, but
that'd be fun.
It's Google. I'm sure it'll work well.
No, I mean, yeah. Unless what you do is you try to talk like the other person, see if it works.
Yeah. And so the other thing though is it does not use your phone number, which it has its ups and downs. So essentially what happens is it just says private number. Yeah. In other words, Google has a whole bunch of phone numbers from Google Voice, and they just steamrolled all of them into servers for Google Home. And that's really all there is to it.
Yeah, makes sense. They probably use a different one each time, so that's why it says private.
Yeah. And so like on one hand, really cool because you can make calls from it for free. It doesn't cost you anything. There's no home phone service. But I wish there was some kind of way to use your number, or at the very least an option for setting up Google Voice to use your number. Because,
yeah, that would work. I would be okay with the second option there, definitely.
Because, like, personally, I don't answer the phone most of the time unless I know the number. So if I just see private caller, now if someone gets a Google Home and I know that they start using that functionality, I'll probably answer it if I see that just in case. But, like, I prefer to just answer the phone if it's someone I know, because there's so much spam calling going on right now.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty bad. Yeah. So I get that it's like escalated in the last month. I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah.
Never. Speaking of which, if anybody does get one of those automated spam calls, be really careful. Don't ever use the word yes while you're talking to them, because they try and get that word to bind a contract for you to like pay them money or something, and it's hard to legally work around that. So don't ever use the word yes.
Just hang up.
Yeah. They try and get you to say the word yes by the way they talk and the questions they ask. That's their goal. So keep that in mind. But anyway, continue. Yeah.
And then the other big functionality coming to Google Home, and this is really cool, and this is not something Alexa has.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
They are giving essentially a visual integration. So essentially it's like a Chromecast app that will display a whole bunch of information. So it can do things like calendar, appointments, weather, things like that on a display for you. So like turn your TV on in the morning and you're watching the news or something, and then you're like, say to your Google Home, display this info. I don't know exactly the voice command that it's going to be, but it'll just pop it up on TV.
Yeah, I like that.
Personally, what I would like to do is maybe, have like a monitor wall mounted or something that just has a Chromecast built in and always has something like this up, depending on what all information it can have.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. Yeah. I definitely do. I would actually like for you to be able to tell it which screen you want it to go on too. If you have multiple TVs or whatever,
you should be able to, because of Chromecast. You just name the Chromecast differently.
Exactly. So you say the words that make it listen, and then you say, show me shit on my bedroom TV.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like the idea behind this. I think Amazon's trying to do this with the Echo, kind of with the Echo Show. It's just that the Echo Show's garbage.
Yeah, it's just really expensive.
Yeah, and it looks like garbage.
Yeah.
It looks like a photo frame. But anyway, yeah, I hope that I think the idea is kind of there. The integration between multiple things.
Yeah.
Screens and voice commands all working together is the end result. They're jumping a little. They're a little bit jumping the gun though, because the voice stuff still hasn't gotten as good as it needs to be.
Yeah, but it's
cool.
Likely a different development team too. It's just like, hey, you guys work on this feature while the rest of the team finishes what they're doing.
Yeah, pretty much. Google Assistant has some stuff.
Yes. So Google Assistant, for one, text input is coming. Thank God. And then for people that remember Google Goggles. This is a new feature called Google Lens. It's designed for things like translating text, doing search, things like that.
Right.
It looks really cool. Essentially, you can open up Google Assistant and use the feature to essentially just auto translate text.
I actually loved Google Goggles. It was actually helpful in some situations. So,
yeah,
it'd be cool if this can do all the similar things that Google Goggles did.
Yeah. Also, the big news for Google Assistant is that it's coming to the iPhone. Boom.
Yeah, big deal.
Siri, step up your game now, because Siri's been really slacking.
Yeah, they have.
Now, if there's rumors that Apple's going to be announcing a Google Home or Alexa-esque device that is for Siri. If that's happening, then they have to be stepping it up.
Yeah.
Unlike Google, Apple's not going to start from scratch to release a new device.
Yes.
Because Google Assistant was literally started from scratch. It literally had features missing that Google now had.
Yes, indeed.
Years.
Siri's been really falling behind. And now all of a sudden we have the Echo, we have the Google Home, and then we have the Cortana stuff that's releasing from HP. They've all got their physical smart home type device that they're working on. Siri's sitting over here like, hey, I'm on the iPhone. I kind of do some things and I tell better jokes. That was always my complaint too about Siri's. I was like, it doesn't do as much. It's just funnier. Yeah. Which I don't care about. It's for information. I don't need it to tell me a joke.
Yeah. So some other things, the There's a whole bunch of new languages coming. I'm not going to list them all, but there's like 6 or 7 languages coming this year for Google Assistant. And then also on top of that, it's going to be using certain essentially like platform calls for account delivery or for delivery and account creation. So essentially like all through a conversation they demoed being able to order a Panera Bread just through conversation. And then you verify the payment with a fingerprint at the end of the transaction, and that's it. That'll be very big for Google Home specifically because Google Home gets Google Assistant functionality.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Google
Photo. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say Google Photos.
Google Photos, yes.
So that's getting a bunch of updates too. The biggest thing is Google Lens. Google Lens is part of Assistant, but it's also within the Google Photos application.
I hope you can insert photos into it to have it searched and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So expect Google Assistant to show up in every aspect of anything that has the Google branding on it. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Google Assistant Drive functionality at some point.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't be surprised if that's about that.
So Google Lens, as far as it stands with photos, essentially Lens is going to be able to understand context of images a lot better. So while looking at a photo in Google Photos, you can pull up Lens. And with one tap, you can do things like identify a business location, a phone number, artwork, learn stuff about specifics about buildings, things like that. By this time next year, it really should be good functionality.
Yeah. Lots of cool things you can do when you add, image searching into it.
Yeah. There is also photo books functionality, which essentially allows you to do things like make collages and fancy printed photo books easily. You can either buy soft or hard book copies for like 10 or 20 bucks. It'll use machine learning to essentially process and sell you new photo books.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that too.
Yeah, it would be really good for gifts. I mean, you just take all the, like say you go on a trip with someone and you take photos, you just right from the app, you can just essentially order it while you're on your way back. And
yeah, so like the photos from that and be like, hey, I want a book of shit.
Yeah. So this will be pretty cool. There's also shared libraries within there. So you can have the option to share. You have a lot of control, essentially. You can share libraries with anyone. You can specify to share photos with only a specific person or photos only after a certain date.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. There's customization like auto-saving photos from a shared library, saving only the photos you want. We'll see. There's just a lot more coming. And then there's new like suggested sharing things. So like if you theoretically, like if you take a picture of a friend, it'll suggest that, hey, you might want to share it with them.
Right,
so
right.
If you take a group photo, you could just with one button press share it to everyone because Google knows who they are because you have other photos of them. So
right. Yeah. I think it's a cool way of doing it. I'm excited. Google Photos needs to grow. They just need to get their notifications out of Google Plus.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? If you go on Google Plus now, if you want to see all your notifications, instead of having a little button that you click that just makes it bigger and shows and goes into the like previous, red notifications and stuff, there's actually 2 buttons at the bottom. One's a Google Plus button.
Google Plus is trash now.
One is a Google Plus button. One is a Google Photos button. And you have to click which one you want. And if you click the Google Plus one to view your Google Plus notifications in Google Plus, it loads up a new tab with your Google Plus notifications full screen.
Yep.
It's that bad.
Google is killing Google Plus.
Why can't it was so good and then they just wrecked it
because it didn't get enough users.
Which is their own fault. They could have fixed it. They could have
No.
Sad.
Nobody wants to use a new social network that doesn't have compelling features. Its most compelling feature was circles.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And
okay.
that could easily be integrated into Facebook if Facebook was willing to. But Facebook doesn't want that because they want you to show it to everyone because they like manipulating people.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then of all the things that get the lamest update, it's YouTube. 360-degree video in the YouTube app on your TV. Whoop-de-doo.
You can use the remote and click over pixel by pixel.
Yeah, and then a new API for Super Chat, which is something that Twitch has had for a long time. So YouTube is catching up to Twitch. That's the big announcement from Google I/O. Yay, YouTube! That's literally it. Literally 2 things, and none of them are important to 90% of users.
Isn't that great? Well, we have 2 more real news stories after this. They're pretty short, and then I actually got to get off. I got work tomorrow as usual.
Yeah, I'll let you go over these because I haven't paid attention to Minecraft on the Switch, and I have no idea what Wild West Online is.
Yep. Okay. So Minecraft for the Switch runs at 720p, and people were very confused. Why? It runs at 720p always, docked, undocked, no matter what. It's 720p. And people were kind of frustrated about that. It does run at 60 frames per second. It's 720p, 60 frames per second. But people were kind of frustrated about that because the Switch, come on, it should be able to handle 1080p, 60 frames per second. Well, it can.
Or at least 900.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It can. The problem isn't so much because, Minecraft isn't very graphic intensive. If it can run 720p at 60 FPS, I'm pretty sure it can do 1080p because that means the CPU isn't being held back, and it's not like the CPU's task more when you increase resolution. That's all GPU. So anyway, but it appears that it can without a problem. In fact, I don't even know if they actually said in specific that it can without an issue. According to the spokesperson, the Switch's power is not holding the game back from reaching 1080p, but they have issues with it. The issues being with docking and undocking. Quote, issues currently experienced shifting from one resolution to the other when docking/undocking, end quote. So basically, Minecraft, for whatever reason, probably something related to how Minecraft does resolution and how it's procedurally generated, makes it so when you dock it, it was just causing like all kinds of weird problems and it wouldn't actually switch properly. Which, no other game has had, so it's a Minecraft specific thing, I'm assuming, but it kind of sucks, but
yeah. Yep.
So that's why. But at least it's 60 frames per second. That's what matters most.
Gotta get that high intensity Minecraft.
Yes, exactly. You wouldn't want to accidentally like turn too far and break the wrong block of dirt. Wild West Online is a new MMO revealed. I'm going to make it very short and simple. The article was stupid long about a game, but they started a Kickstarter. They're trying to reach $250,000. The game will be actually like a pre-alpha basically. Will actually be out no matter if they hit their Kickstarter fund or not. The Kickstarter is just to help them get more money to push it faster and further and have new ideas and stuff. They also have multiple tiers if they reach above $250,000 in order to add special things to the game, but the game's going to be out either way, at least in alpha state. But it's an MMO related around the Wild West. It's basically it's a cool looking MMO. So it's exciting to see an MMO that might be successful. That's not fucking mages and everything, right? Something that's actually like shooting based, because that hasn't really been a thing other than Destiny, which it doesn't
it's
exactly.
Like a half MMO.
Yeah, it's like a half MMO. Yeah. This is a real MMO, and it looks really pretty, by the way, according to the screenshots. And it's built specifically for PC. They have no intention of pushing it anywhere else.
Yeah. So for people wondering, essentially, it looks like Red Dead Redemption as an MMO.
Yeah.
Which, depending on Red Dead Redemption's online, because it's going to have that. If Red Dead Redemption has anything like Grand Theft Auto Online, this could just be very similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, just on a bigger scale.
This is true. It could be. Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm excited for it. I will play it.
Especially since you, as a PC peasant, don't get to play Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, shut up. Call me. You know what? You're going to offend people by saying PC peasant. They're going to attack you. You're going to get negative subscribers on your channel because of that statement.
I don't care. I'm joking. If they can't realize that, then bye.
So yeah, anyway, it looks really cool. I'd be interested in trying it because I love MMOs, even though I don't play them that much. I love MMOs.
Did you sign up for the
I probably should, huh? I probably should, huh?
I already did that. Come on. I didn't even hear about this until you just started talking about it, and I'm ahead of you.
Oh. My bad. Shut your mouth.
For anyone that might want to request alpha access for whenever they decide to launch it, the website is playwwo.com. And you just click sign up and type in your email.
Yep, pretty awesome.
Just make sure you're 13 or older.
Right? Yeah. You must be 13 or older. We do not.
We don't want to play with 12-year-olds.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I actually need to get going because I need to go to work tomorrow. But thank you, everybody, for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe and check out Daniel's channel. And also in the description, of course, I've got a link to his channel. I've got a link to my Patreon page and social media links. Again, I'm on Twitter most active, so if you want to get a hold of me, Twitter is the way to do it. And, of course, Minecraft IPs if you're interested in joining. But thank you, everybody, for watching.